Hey everyone, what's going on? I've found myself thinking about, well, what do I need to do a video on next? And I just have been kind of sitting on it too long, and I finally realized I just need to get on here and talk about something, that's just on my mind. And one of the things I've been thinking about lately is, the sound for this channel. And, me being a production sound mixer, what kind of tools do I use? And maybe you're thinking about creating content or have specific types of things that you like to use. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to be taking a look at some of the tools, or really showing you some of the different tools. I got cameras here and microphones and all kind of things set up. And we'll go ahead and do that and have a little bit of fun along the way. And let's go ahead and do that here right after this message. The key to a great sounding lav is 10% placement and 90% process.
Typically, I'll do a script breakdown on my iPad. Ingenuity and flexibility really are the keys here because we have the same goal, capturing the performance.
It is this process here that inspired us to create Wire Like the Pros, a masterclass for students and professionals who have the desire to excel and go beyond just the wiring technique and tools.
Let's talk about working with the actors.
So I invite you to come over now and enroll into Wire Like the Pros at mwsound.net. So one of the things that got me thinking about the sound on this channel is it's been almost 10 years since I launched this YouTube channel and started focusing on production sound videos, and I can't believe it's been that long. And it's been kind of a journey. One of my favorite parts of having the YouTube channel here and about production sound is I get to try different types of things and experiment and learn and work with products and really kind of dig deeper than maybe I normally would have time for when I'm working and so forth. So the evolution of this channel with the different types of sound tools I use has been a process, and I've learned a few things along the way. So I wanted to share with you what it is I do specifically for this channel, and even talk about the different types of videos that maybe different types of workflows are suited for. So before I even show you anything, we should talk about this setup right here, which is a very simple and straightforward setup. So we've got, a couple cameras here, one front facing and then another down here where I can show some of the tools that we're going to talk about today. And I'm using an AKG C3000S. And I actually bought this microphone from a company called Mars Music, and I'm going to date myself here, and I believe 1997. So I've had this microphone a really, really long time. I prefer to use a large diaphragm condenser microphone for these streams. I know we see a lot of use of dynamic microphones, in particular the SM7B, as I'm sure you're familiar with, which seems to be the most popular type of microphone. But for my purposes, a large diaphragm condenser microphone has a much better dynamic range than an SM7B. It also has, a wider frequency response, but there's a caveat. And if you're watching this channel, most likely you probably work in sound, and that is I've got over 26 acoustical panels in this room here. As you can see, these are tri-band traps in the back, and then up on the ceiling and on the walls and a lot of areas that you can't see that you see in the thumbnail, I've got acoustic treatment everywhere. So that kind of allows the microphone not to sound reverberous or perhaps capture a lot of the unwanted room noise that you might get out of a large diaphragm condenser microphone like this. Whereas a dynamic microphone in an untreated space or something that has a higher background noise could be obviously more helpful in that scenario. And there are so many amazing types of dynamic microphones, which makes it really surprising to me that everyone is using the SM7B. It's almost like they didn't put a lot of creativity or thought into it. like the RE20, for instance, another great dynamic microphone, or even if you just have an SM57 or 58, something like that would be absolutely suitable and really great for that sort of application. So for the streaming application, I typically leave this set up, ready to go, and I don't like to, be having to, mic myself and hang a bunch of different, do a bunch of different things if I just want to go on here and stream. So that is typically the setup I'm using for a live like this. And also, I want to mention that I'm using a Redline 16. It's a Focusrite interface. Probably overkill for someone who just wants to do some streaming, but I am set up for 5.1 here, and I've got Pro Tools Ultimate, so I can actually do Dolby Atmos mixing in here and monitor to the 5.1 fold downs, thankfully to the latest update. And my phone's ringing there. Let me turn that off. So that kind of covers the live scenario. So let's get into like the video. If you've been watching this channel for a while, well, you know that I do all different types of videos. Sometimes I'll be out in the field. Some favorites that come to mind are the listening experience videos, if you've seen those, where I compare different types of microphones. Obviously, with those, I'm using the microphone that we are listening to. Some of the more popular microphones that I've reviewed on this channel, I mean, there's been a lot, but like the Sanken CSM1, the CS3E. I've also reviewed the Colettes and CMC 141s, and the list goes on and on. So that's a specific use case where we're actually listening to something. And then the other one that comes to mind is the CMS50, which I'm going to show you also, that I also use for the out and about. So if I'm shooting solo, which is 90% of the time, and that other 10% is really when I have help. So I've been really fortunate to have other people in the production sound community help me with operating the camera and working with things. And I'm just going to call them out right now. My friend, production sound mixer, Eric Magnus, which I hope to get on this channel. Very talented mixer, has helped me a lot with the camera operation on this channel. Another guy comes to mind who I don't think is working in sound these days, Cameron Gallagher, and Matt Thierry, who you guys have known and seen on the channel. Matt Nicolay is another one who's helped me with like shooting. And I just want to throw out a lot of these names because a lot of the times on the channel I'm able to get like this collaboration, and probably my favorite, and we'll talk about microphone setups here with that, is recording DSR4 on wheels, which was literally a 8 camera setup, and we shot it all Verte with like 9 people, and it was just like the most fun ever experience when it comes to shooting video, because really, to me, social content, it's about community, it's about learning. I mean, that's why I do this. It's just for fun. It's to learn and grow and share is the purpose. So let's get right into some of the other styles. So we covered live. We talked about specialty videos where you're actually listening to what it is that we're viewing. But let's say we're doing a video that doesn't involve a specific microphone. What am I doing for sound for that? Well, typically, 9 times out of 10, I'm always using a lav. Since I'm shooting as a one-man band, that means that I don't have like a boom operator, or I'm not carrying around stands or C-stands to put a boom over my head, or any of that type of technique that we would use, say, if we were going to be doing sound for a videographer or somebody else. So let me grab it here and go to this overhead camera. So the first thing I'll show you, we'll keep a clean workspace here just to keep it all zen and OCD, is the Sanken COS 11D. And this one is one of my favorites. And why it's a favorite is look how used and abused this thing is. It's kind of a joke that I can't kill this microphone. I'm pretty sure this COS 11D, as you can see here, is older than me. And this microphone, it won't stop working, no matter how hard I try to break it. And the COS 11D is just, it's been an industry standard for so many years, and it's such a great microphone. And it has, of course, it doesn't matter what kind of transmitter you're using with a microphone. If you're new to sound, obviously this is a TA5. It's not going to focus on it, but that's okay. The TA5F for Electrosonics, and it just sounds fabulous. It's exactly what I need. And I'm just going to, I'll tape this on me. I mean, that's a crude way to say I would wire myself up, usually I hide the microphone is the other thing I'll say. So typically I'm not clipping a microphone on my shirt or anything like that. I'm just so accustomed to hiding microphones that's going to be the technique that I'm using. So the first things first is I use a wire, the Sanken COS 11. So next, what other kind of tools I'm using? Because obviously we can't just do sound with a wire, right? We need other things. But we need to be small. In my case, I need to be small because a lot of times I'm a one-man band. So what am I doing? So typically I'm either using a transmitter to a wireless receiver, or if I can't use a wireless receiver to the camera that I'm using, then I'll use a timecode recorder. So I think the easier thing to digest here is the one when I use a transmitter going to a camera with a wireless hop. We all know what a wireless hop is, and I'm going to show you my primary camera for this channel. And yes, I know it's a beast and it's probably way overkill for social media, but that's just me. I mean, I like to use good equipment, and this is a Canon C70. It's a budget level cinema camera, and we won't get into the specifics of that. This is a 24-105. So it is a walk around lens, and it is just it's f4. This camera shoots a beautiful professional image. I'm usually 29.97. I'm not making a movie when I'm making a sound video. I'm just, it should look somewhat like video. And, but I digress. What we're really looking at here is this here, which is the Electrosonics M2RA, also known as, and I'm struggling to get it to focus here. Let me stop. There it is. Also known as the Duet. This is my primary receiver for sending to the camera. So this is also the hop that I use when working on commercials. Typically commercials, they like to have a wireless hop to camera, or even, commercials is such a weird world. It feels old fashioned. Any type of content, streaming, anything that we do professionally, the editors like to have the audio on the camera. Narrative, we have the luxury, we've got a dialogue editor, we've got assistant editor, then it goes to audio post, re-recording mixer, boom, 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 right? That's not the world we live in when we're talking about content, commercials. A lot of times the editor's just mixing the audio themselves and they need it on the camera. And for a one-man band like me, I kind of like the same thing, meaning that I'm not recording timecode locked and then bringing it into Pro Tools and doing a mix. I'm typically doing it all in DaVinci Resolve, and I can get a really good sound going right here to the C70. So this Duet can take the transmitter here, and this is a Electrosonics DBSM. So I'm typically using, now get this, HDM mode. So I'm actually transmitting 2 milliwatts to this Duet in HDM mode, which stands for high density mode. If you're not, Electrosonics user, let's say, so this mode is very efficient power wise. And I just basically lob myself up with this. I get a good level into this, and then I record directly into this line input 3 and 4, which brings up a really, really good point. This particular camera you notice here, and let's take off the softy. Whoa. Okay, here, hold on. I want to say whoa. It's like I don't want to get too carried away and, mess up something on the camera because I'm trying to move too fast. All right, here we go. So this, here it is naked. It's a Sanken CMS 50. And And you should find a demo video on my channel for this, showing the stereo imaging of this mic. But I use this on channel 1 and 2. Now, the MS microphone allows me to get a stereo image for all of the B-roll I shoot. I can have stereo imaging, which is beautiful. So when I'm cutting through different elements, depending upon the type of video I'm doing, that you can actually hear the stereo image. And with auto align, which I learned from a dialogue editor, Jason Freeman, MPSC, commonly in narrative, what they're doing is they're taking the lav and they're taking the boom and they're auto aligning the phase and post. And by doing that, you can actually stack the sound of the environment with the boom to give the shot depth. So I'm actually having 4 channels on this camera, my MS. And for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with MS, it is you obviously have the central mono cardioid, and not a supercardioid like you would find on a short shotgun, like a supercardioid or hypercardioid. It's actually a cardioid pattern on the mid, and then you have a figure 8 on the side. So you can use just the mid on the cardioid if you choose to, and you don't even have to decode the MS. But once you decode the MS, then you can choose the stereo width, and then you can stack it with your lav using a plugin like Auto Align. So it's pretty over the top, probably for like your average creator, but we're sound people. We're not really average creators, especially when it comes to sound. So if you really want to take it to the next level, that's a lot of different layers that I have here on this. And so that's the idea. And when I say idea, a lot of the times it doesn't make sense to stack what's happening on the MS in the lav. A lot of times it makes more sense just to use the lav and then use the MS for the B-roll. And another thing I started doing that I really like is I'll do what I'll call like an MS ambience or room tone, let's say. So if I'm in an environment that I like the sound of the space, or there's nice stereo information, let's say even like a busy city where cars are going by, I can actually just, with the camera, record say 10-15 seconds of ambient MS and then layer that in underneath the dialogue portions. So anyway, super flexible and powerful setup here. Way over the top. But that's just me, sorry. So that's kind of my world here in the camera thing. And then we'll get to some of the comments here in just a moment, as well as soon as I get past this segment here. And I appreciate everyone commenting here. So, a couple things. What do we have here? Details I can show you. Let me try going to the overhead camera just in case you're curious on more of the details of this stuff. Okay, this is where we really start to struggle on auto. All right, so I am literally multitasking, trying to get this to focus. Welcome to the world of micro four thirds and focusing. Oh, you know what it is? I think I have this on, no, it is I thought I had it on manual focus. Well, anyway, what I want to show you, and I'm going to use this camera. Sorry, because epic fail, guys. This is, you can see it here. This is a newer, this is like, basically it's a shoe mount that's a cube that was just in focus and is not in focus anymore. There it is. So that allows me to mount this is a Rycote Envision that I had the CMS 50 on, and then it also allows me to mount the Duet onto the camera like in any configuration I want, because it's important to me that the quarter wave whips on this Duet are actually in the correct polarization, which is vertical here. So if I can avoid it, I don't want them going sideways. So usually I even travel with this on the professional gigs because, there's probably, that's twice as much power for RF when you go this versus this, approximately. So, all right, so that is the camera setup. But there are other things that we do when working in that. I'm going to go to comments real quick, and then we'll come back because I've got more stuff, because we're not always shooting with this here. Sometimes we're doing other cameras that don't have that capability. So how am I doing that? in that scenario is the next thing we're going to do. Eric, we were just talking about you, Eric. Thanks so much for the question. It says, what is the size of the sensor of that camera? I think it's a 35 millimeter, if that even makes sense. I couldn't tell you the inches. My camera knowledge is, or APS-C size. Does that ring a bell, anybody? It's not full frame, but it's not micro four thirds. So I think it's somewhere like APS-C. If somebody knows the technical parts of cameras, feel free to correct me or tell me the right thing. Curtis, thank you. That's a crop sensor camera. Curtis absolutely knows. And by the way, guys, if you haven't had a chance to check out Curtis's new courses, he's got a brand new course on UHF wireless. And I also took Curtis's course on lighting for video. And thank you. Curtis is an expert on lighting, as well as a very proficient and professional sound person. So thank you, Curtis, and great to see you here. Crop down to what size? I would say ask Curtis. Oh, you guys are answering. You're having your own side conversation. All right, Super 35. And then it looks like we got one more comment here. Dorian, cute Dorian. Okay, hey, thanks for saying hello and thanks for being here. All right, so let's keep talking about sound. I think this is like a great topic. I'm gonna throw something out there before we go into the next one. And what I want to throw out there is that, if you're a sound channel making sound videos, please put on a microphone. I mean, I feel like we're past that, but I have noticed that, like, there's this, I digress. I just feel like we kind of owe it to our craft to make sure if you're producing content and sound, just put something on. Don't just put your phone up and, anyway, we should probably move on. I'm putting my opinions here on like what you shouldn't do is the title of this video when you're doing production sound videos. Okay, let's talk about other stuff. So there is a world where we don't have the C70, right? Maybe you're shooting with your iPhone. Maybe you're shooting with a DSLR type camera. Maybe you've got whatever you've got, and maybe it doesn't have the ability to take a line level in. Let's say it's unbalanced mic level. So like my GH5s that I'm shooting right now are both unbalanced 3.5 millimeter inputs, unbalanced mic level, which basically is a stereo signal that's unbalanced. And so you can't feed it LTC. That won't work. It's just going to blow it out. And so there's that problem to solve. So also they don't have timecode input, right? There's that problem to solve. And remember, we're still talking about our one-man band here, Michael Wynn YouTube sound channel. Like, what do I do in this scenario? Because there's a lot of different things you can do, but this is just what I choose to do. So the first thing usually I'm going to do, if I can find where it is I'm going to use something like this. This is a Electrosonics PDR. And what it is it's a timecode locked recorder that works with micro SD. It takes just a 1 AAA battery. I can usually get 6 to 8 hours on one of these AAAs, and it actually allows me to plug in the lavs that I already have. So remember, my crown jewel here, I could throw this in a fire and it would still work. I can just plug in the lav right here, and then I can also, most importantly, jam the time code of the unit. So before I get too into time code, I want to take that separately. I would just basically do that here because we want to talk about a couple different time code options. So once I jam this, I'm going to use maybe a couple different time code options. The first one here is the Betso TCX2. This particular time code box is brilliant because it's a transceiver. It uses the STL band, which is a 928. There's other areas. It's a scientific technology L something band. It exists in other places in 928, but in production sound, we call it the STL band. So this thing actually communicates with all the other devices. This one right now I have in, I don't have it in transmit mode. I just have it running independently, and I basically kind of rough jammed it to the time of day here. And if you can see here, I'm at 29.97. So my first step is going to be to jam this particular device. And this conveniently has a LEMO 5 input. So let's go ahead and put that in here. And it can take an LTC. So let's go ahead and pop it like that. And then you can see that big hot level there? We're going to go into the time code of the PDR, which is somewhere here. Let's find it. Time code. There you are. Time code jam. And then it's going to say, yep, jam successful. That's a good thing. So now this particular unit is jammed. And just kind of an interesting heads up. If I was to power off this unit, and let's try, because I don't want to make anything up, like just to save the battery over lunch, I believe it has a built-in capacitor. So what that means is that the cap actually holds some of the power. So it's actually able to hold the time code. So let's actually power it back up and see if I just made that up or if it's true. There we go. Okay, so I just made that up. It's absolutely not true. And then I think this is the case. The reason why I said that is it's the case with the DPRs and maybe the DBSMs, but it looks like the PDR doesn't do it. It's something I learned from Electro recently. But so let's go ahead and jam one more time. See, I'm not beyond making things up. All right, so let's go to the time code here, time code jam, and let's jam it again. And this time, let's not power cycle it. So usually I can get about 6 to 8 hours out of this. I mic myself up and I have it jammed. Now, what about the camera, right? This is where things get interesting and cool. Okay, so let me just kind of plug this in and then take a look here. Test, 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 test. Yep, you can see, well, let's get out of the 10, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's going good. Maybe take my mic level up a little bit. This is a little different than, say, the test 1, 2, 2, 2. Oh, well, let's actually talk into the head of the mic. Test 1, 2, 2, 2. Yep, that's a good level. Right around there. Okay. So obviously I'm going to use a time code locked recorder to record myself because I can get the time code and everything. I don't have to worry about any wireless drama, nothing. I just have to make sure the mic sounds good. And this unit also has a headphone output. So if I want to check and see how my lav sounds, I can simply just plug in the headphones, which is a beautiful thing. Makes things nice and simple, and in a way, I'm kind of confidently checking it before I go. Confidence monitor means that you would monitor it the whole time. That's not typically what I'm doing in this scenario. Okay, so here's the problem. Here's where it gets tricky. So this particular unit here is LTC out. If you know what LTC out is, put it in the comments. I'll give you a second. The LTC, one thing about it is a line level signal. So what that means is that if I plug in this super awesome TCX2 into a DSLR camera, what's going to happen? It's going to blow it out. So I have a few options. First thing is I can use a pad. I can use a cable with a built-in, let's say 30 dB pad. 30 or 40 is right around where it would take mic to line level, right? The other option I can use is something else I've been doing. So rather than sending LTC via a pad, I'll show you what I've been using for the DSLRs. And that is the D80TC1. And the D80TC1 is a very, very clever little device. And what makes this device clever and good for when using DSLRs is that it can output either a mic level or a line level output. And not only does it output a mic level output or line, so I can do LTC, and you probably aren't going to be able, I'm going to like, this camera is, trust me, it's going to deny us, so I'm not going to do that. So what I can do here is I can go into the settings and I can choose to do, okay, see how it says L out. You probably can't read it, but that says L out, and I can select it. Let's try that again. L out, and I'm going to choose A out, which is audio out. Okay, or that's not true. A out means mic level out. Doesn't mean audio out. So the A-out does something really, really clever. So this device here, this TC1, actually has a built-in microphone. So it splits. Not only does it send the mic level out without the pad, this is a microphone. So then I get the timecode aux on channel 1 of the camera. Then I get an audio scratch track on channel 2, or vice versa. And then that I call it LTC because it is LTC, just sent at mic level, then goes into the edit into DaVinci Resolve, and then with one click, I can turn that aux timecode or LTC timecode into real timecode. And voila. Then all of the camera takes from the DSLR that doesn't have a timecode input all have timecode lock. And then I come back and I take my little doodad here, my PDR, and I drop those files in to the timeline, and DaVinci just goes boom, and everything's synced. And in fact, I can't tell you how many times, I've had meetings with editors on pretty high-profile projects, non-narrative, mostly high-profile stuff. And I say, "Are you using DaVinci?" And they'll say, "No, Premiere." And I'm like, because last time I checked, Premiere couldn't even read timecode aux. Avid can, but that was a long time ago, like 5 years ago. So maybe they've evolved. But you got these shooters, and they're just like shooting clip, 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 clip. And that's what I'm doing typically when I'm out with any kind of camera. I'm just rolling the sound continuously on the lav, and I'm shooting to my heart's content. Then I go back in the edit bay, and everything syncs flawlessly. No problems. So I keep things very simple. As you can tell, I don't like to carry a lot of gear. There's my sound bag back there, my small sound bag. And no way, not for this kind of stuff. I don't have a sound mixer. I'm the sound mixer. I got to figure out how to get good sound and use the tools that I have in a creative way. So that's kind of what I've come up with. But I'm always open to trying new things and doing different types of things. Like for instance, this can actually record timecode locked as well. You just jam it here with the appropriate cable. So you don't really even need the PDR if you have a transmitter that can record like this. PDR just has a little bit more advantage as far as the battery life. So I'm just kind of used to using it. I don't know really, it does have a longer battery life, but I haven't checked it head to head. And then these Deity, I don't typically use these for narrative work just because I've got the Betso TCX2s, and they just are going to be, they have a lot, the fact that the batteries don't need to be charged, I can just change them, keep them on the camera. It is a transceiver. It doesn't require any app. Huge advantages over something like this on narrative is a no-go. But when I'm doing one-man band commercials, working with all these fake cinema cameras that we see, this is awesome. This does things that this can't do. So really, I think it just comes down to knowing the tools and knowing what they're good at and what they're not good at is kind of where I'm at. So I think I have a few more comments and questions, and I'm going to wrap things up here, guys. I appreciate you hanging out here with me and kind of going through this explosion of, hey, this is what I do. Hopefully it's helpful for you. Hopefully it gave you an idea maybe with your own channel or your own clients on, wow, that makes sense. I could do this and stuff like that. So, or maybe you have an idea for me. Hey, Michael, you could do it better if you did this. I would love to hear that as well. So, all right, so we're going to come in. Camerahead Studios. Hi, how's it going? I love that avatar, by the way. That is super cool with the hand drawing 3 lines. Thanks for being here. Appreciate the comment. It was a laugh LOL. Good starter for miking up videos is the Lark M2. Super simple and it sounds amazing. Yeah, I mean, Q Dorian, you bring up a good point. if you don't have any money and for sound and you're just want to throw one of those 2.4 gigahertz mics on, that's an option. Not something I would ever do, but hey, good for you. Eric says, Kadorian sounds amazing compared to what other mic. Okay. All right. Hi, Michael. Please, may I ask what camera setup are you using for the top down above the table shot? Thanks. Yeah. Record classical music. Awesome, man. I wonder what kind of stuff you're doing. I'd like to watch your channel. This overhead mic, I wish I could, if there's a way I could. I think the overhead mic is in the thumbnail that I put on this. So it is a GH5S, which is their it has a dual native ISO in the Lumix line. The camera's got to be 10 years old, but the lens, I think, is really what you're seeing. It's a 25 to 50 Leica, if that means something to you. It's really good glass. One of the things I've kind of learned with these Micro Four Thirds is they're awesome, they're convenient, and man, put your money in the glass because the bodies, they just keep getting better. One of these days I'll try the GH7 just to kind of upgrade, but right now it's like, I don't see the point. All right, so it says, compared to other consumer mics, I would compare it to something like DJI wireless mics for the Rode Wireless Go. They sound pretty good, and I'd argue that the Lark M2 sounds as good as them. Yeah, once again, the 2.4 systems are wildly popular. I was talking to a friend the other day. If I was doing videos on 2.4 gigahertz systems, it wouldn't be a production sound channel. It would be something else. It's just that these systems are highly convenient, but they, 2.4 gigahertz is extremely congested. It's very probable you could have dropouts and problems, especially if you're in a busy environment, like say a show floor or something like that, just to keep in mind for that. And that's not to take away from it, because I think I recommended the 2.4 to my sister, who owns like a candle company, and they're doing their own content. So it doesn't mean it's not good. It just means be careful, because, the focus of this channel is production sound and professional sound, and it's just not something that's suitable for a professional shoot, in my opinion. All right, it says, thanks for liking the logo. You bet. Yeah, it's super cool. And yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, thanks so much for being here. So guys, I think we are very close to wrapping this up. And I think we've got, there we go. One more comment from Eric. If you connect a better lav mic to the Hollyland transmitter, it would sound even more amazing. Yeah, obviously the mic source is extremely important for any of these systems. Everything in line is very important. So yeah. So I think we I missed one comment here. Q Dorian, sorry about that. Say, for its price, of course, but just a nicer option for someone like me who's on a starter budget who can't afford buying a Sennheiser G4. Yeah, you might even look into the G3, something like that. And, Q Dorian, I think the distinction is, like, if you're doing, and this is just my opinion, certainly get other opinions. I'm just a sound mixer, but if you're doing stuff, if you have a channel and it's your channel and you're just doing content and there's nothing at stake, yeah, do whatever works for you, whatever's convenient, because just like I talked about here, my setup is based upon convenience and having to work as a one-man operator and using the tools that I have to the best, of my ability. And, but be weary of bringing a system like that onto a professional set, especially if something's at stake, like this is like your first gig or something like that, because you want to make sure that your system works and that nothing happens. Because sometimes if you use it at the house, everything's working great, but then you get it on set, which is a totally different world. Like, for instance, most lighting systems out there use 2.4 gigahertz control, and a lot of times these gaffers, they have these high power transmitters, and literally it will make everything on a set that's 2.4 not work. So it's just something to keep in mind, when using those systems. It's just some honest and hopefully helpful feedback. So thanks, everyone. I think I'm going to run out of here, and this was great. I'm glad I finally got on here and talked about something sound-wise. And I hope to see everyone very soon. And I think with that, we're going to wrap things up here. And we'll hope to see you soon. Take care.